right, so do I have before I do that, is there anyone from the public who would like to make a comment on the hazardous waste collection?
I'm willing to pay my $2.26 or $5.32 right now. Both years.
I would just say, like, I honestly, listening to all this, if they did $20,000 at the dump 7 years ago and only 4,000 made it to Leaf Summit, where's the other 16,000 been going? Should be concerned about that, into the ground. And it doesn't matter, I would think it doesn't matter that you're halfway through the year, people are still holding on to this stuff, what's it matter? It's not like you're buying a subscription to something. You're giving them an opportunity to dispose of things that are not good for our environment, not good for the community. That would be the way I look at that.
As living here and taxing, I would say I would prefer it wait till 2026 and 2025 not pay full price for half a year. Just my 2 cents.
My thought is that if we had that many people, there's some real, I guess they were turned away, some of them were, my husband apparently got us off because he got through.
It's difficult because people are doing the right thing, and they're loading the car and they're taking the time, but it just, I mean, we have so many people and it costs, it's not cheap to throw away this kind of stuff, so it was in the top. I don't know how, I've asked people, how do you guys find out about this? Oh, Facebook, look around, put it out there, so. It's such a mushy world now with social media, you don't know, how people are finding out. But it's just important to make sure you don't spread the word if you're not sure.
Yeah, Tina has a great question. If it was, we were just talking, I should say, clarify that. And I was like, that's a great question, so I'm gonna speak up. Not to steal her question.
No, you go right
But
ahead.
if we could have half a year, if the program could facilitate to the taxpayer of the city's responsibility of balancing out the accountability they have to budgeting through the taxpayer's money as the best of both worlds. Usually the answer is in the middle. I think that would possibly, John, that could in council that could eliminate what would be a very legitimate concern where, basically we're getting a membership that 6 months, for lack of a better term, that 6 months is already expired. I mean, we can't get time back.
Right.
So
In other words, maybe get it retroactive.
yeah, like if the program would be willing to do that for,
So our
proration.
policy is to not do that. However, I am happy to bring it to our board. I can't speak for the board. And we meet next July 16th. So if that's something you guys want me to bring to the board and that you guys are requesting a retroactive, and we can make, and approve that exception, then there you go. But I can't do that.
I have a question for clarification. I'll do what I should do here, sorry. Carla Marie, if you're here, what don't you? I have a question for clarification, and that is that if it's the city of Pleasant Hill joining it, do the people who live outside of city limits with the Pleasant Hill address, will they benefit from this as well? I would hope, but they will not. So this will only be residents of the city. I want to clarify just to make sure.
County would have to be involved, county would have to do it.
Be part of the program.
Which is probably going to cause some confusion and some hurt feelings. I'm just throwing
It
that
is,
out.
and that's what used to
I would
happen.
say, if you know people in the county, you want to talk to them and say, this is a really, but they've been in the program before, they know about it. Talk to them and see if they'd be willing to join as well, just to create a more seamless program.
Okay, let's take 2 roads here. Is everybody want to join it for next year?
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a motion to Pleasant Hill to rejoin the Mid-America Regional's Hazardous Waste Program for 2026?
Hey, Mayor, actually, we don't even have to do that yet. I will present that agreement to you guys whenever it comes up for
Okay.
review.
So then, would you please talk to your board and see if they would prorate the rest of this year?
I will do that.
And then we can do that.
And then, okay, so then maybe we're looking if they approve August to the rest of the year?
Yes.
Okay, I will put that on the
A
agenda.
little bit.
Yeah,
All right,
I can do that.
and then we will bring it back in. All right, any other questions from the council? All right. Next item is the 2025 Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Mr. Mayor, Council, this has nothing to do with solid waste. This is a regional response to hazards within our community. This was a 5-county effort. It's done every 5 years. This was Jackson, Platte, Clay, Ray, and Cass. Inside that, there's 36 cities that participated, 16 school districts participated, and this is our opportunity to get together collectively and look at some of the hazards within our communities and develop a 5-year strategy for those things. So tonight we're going to ask you to approve our participation in this. It is completed. By doing this, we work amongst ourselves as well as the Mid-America Regional Council and FEMA. By doing this, and this covers things from response to tornadoes and storms, hazardous weather. It covers floodplain planning. A lot of these things we already have ordinances. Somebody's not just going to build a structure in a floodplain here in Pleasant Hill. So a lot of this is continuations from 2015, 2020, continuing on to 2025. The only real change in this plan is for us to develop an all hazards written plan for deployment of resources, and that's already ongoing. Most of these things inside this 400-page document, we're already working on with either Missy or Tony, and it involves floodplains, flooding on our roads, and our response to storms and tornadoes. So I'd ask that you, if you've reviewed this, to consider passing this tonight and making us a participant, which could potentially make us eligible for some grants later on as well through FEMA.
I'm still getting over that. That's okay.
Is there a fee associated, Chief?
There is no fee associated. Only if we have obviously if we have some kind of storm roll through town and tear stuff up, there's probably gonna be some fees to clean up. But obviously there's disaster declarations and things that follow with that. But there's no membership fee or anything for that.
Any comment from the public on the Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan? Do I have a motion to approve Pleasant Hill's inclusion in the 2025 Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2025 Regional Hazards Mitigation Plan.
I'll second.
Motion and a second, roll call, please.
Mayor, I will just clarify, it's not on the front of the agenda, but this is resolution number 25-19. It's in the packet.
Oh, I was like, I don't see that.
No, it's not titled that way on the agenda, but it is in the packet.
They have a number of.
Councilwoman Niner,
Yes.
Councilwoman Newberry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Emo,
Yes.
Councilwoman Doomer.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, the next item is improvement on Gray's Lot.
Hi there. My name is Bonnie Chambers, and I own AC Vintage Realty, and the address is 124 South First Street. And I will give you each a packet, kind of follow along or something. Okay, the cover has a nice little statement that I like. No one should have to travel to these beautiful places. We must invest in making our own towns livable and lovable. Kind of makes sense of what we're talking about. We kind of want to make our place a little prettier. So page 2, I want to kind of read you a story of how Gray's Lot became Gray's Lot. The history is on Saturday, June 19th, 1999, at roughly 1:15 p.m. While masonry crew was working on the interior in Graves Furniture and Hardware Store, the wall started to cave in. Soon after, the ceiling began to collapse. Probably many people in this room remember that event. The wall that caved in was load bearing, and the second story above it started coming down. By the next day, the entire roof had collapsed. Firefighters and police officers evacuated the area, secured the buildings, and closed the north end at first. A structural company was hired to evaluate. The structural expert stated that the building might be salvageable, but couldn't say if it would be economically feasible to repair it, meaning that cost would be higher likely than the work of doing it. Construction workers tried to save the adjoining buildings. Officials feared the remaining buildings could fall domino style. Ultimately, the decision was made to take down the remaining structures, leaving a large empty space we now call a Graves lot, which is what we want to talk about tonight. And that's 26 years ago is when this happened. So 26 years later, almost 3 decades, Graves lot remains a bare, partially unused, very much underutilized, and empty. And tonight, we'd like to recommend a simple, easy solution to make it the opposite of that. So the summary of the project is, the Pleasant Hill Historic District is requesting City Council approval to activate the space on Graves lot by adding 2 outdoor gazebos for creative and temporary placemaking. Pleasant Hill Historic District, we have already approved the expenditure to purchase, install, furnish, decorate, and maintain those gazebos. I do have pictures, but I will show you bigger pictures, and you have them in your packet as well. The gazebos will have furniture, seating, solar lighting, hanging baskets. We added to Graves lot, which is empty. The structures that we're talking about are very temporary. They are not permanent. They can be moved. Next page. Community benefits on this. The gazebos will transform the lot from a vacant lot into a vibrant community hub. They have the ability to beautify the downtown immediately. It will not take long to put them up. Build pride in the community, bring people together in all weather, improve the quality of life of residents, workers, visitors, promote play, recreation, respite, enjoyment. Many things. It will serve the bike community and the walking community, so they can have somewhere to go, gather, and get out of the sun. It will also support all those downtown events that you know about that we have, which are the markets, the block parties, the pop-ups, the parades, performances, Christmas, all of the things. Those will work right into the plan. It'll also be visually interesting, pretty. So if you want to open your packet, I put a couple of pictures of the lots, just so we can remember what those buildings look like. Found those at the library, the museum, which was interesting. The first picture that you see that is horizontal is the 2024 view of Graves lot. So here's a bigger one too, if that helps. So that's what it looks like. It was a little bit naked. We've done a few things to it. The historic district had added 6 benches and planters around it and planted in them, kind of pretty it up a little. Last year in 2024, we also added picnic tables. And each time we did something, we watched use come. So we put the tables out and people started using them, which was very nice. So we're getting somewhere, we're moving in the right direction, but still pretty naked over there. Your next sheet in there will show you what we did this year. So we actually didn't do this on Graves lot per se, we did this on the lot that is owned by Willow, by Lisa. So we put out 5 planters, we put colorful chairs around them, which are the Adirondack chairs. We put flowers in there, and people started using them. They showed up. They showed up at the market. They showed up in the afternoons. People started using this, and which kind of led us to where we're at tonight, which we'd like to put up a little more and test that out and watch them use it. So, next page in your flyer shows you what those buildings are that we're talking about. They're in a box gazebos. They come from Home Depot. They are, let me get my specs out so I don't misspeak. The brand is Norwood. The buildings are 12 by 16 all cedar wood structures. let's see, they're heavy-duty steel roof, 49 gauge galvanized steel, dent and corrosion resistant. Most important part, the structure will withstand up to 100-mile-an-hour winds. So when our winds come through Pleasant Hill, and we know that they do on the regular, the buildings will stand, they won't fall. The roof will hold up to 10,600 pounds of snow, which is the equivalent of 30 inches of snow. Probably won't ever happen, but if it happens, it'll hold up. Let's see, 6x6 cedar post, very robust. We looked very deeply at a lot of buildings, very carefully, and we like the specs of this one better. We just feel like the reviews are there, the quality is there, they'll stand up, but they are temporary. They're going to allow us to test and see how people use them, serve all of those community events, and the like. There's a link at the bottom of that page if anyone wanted to click through and see more detailed into it than we have here. And then that next page will show you kind of a very crude drawing of what it will look like. So Gray's Lot, building, and we threw in a fun big chair in the middle because that kind of pulls in what the city has already done in other places, specifically in City Lake. So we're not proposing to change the flooring is the wrong word, change the bottom. It'll still remain grass unless you ask us to do something with it. And fill them up, put furniture in them, light them up, and use them for all the events. It'll be gorgeous, it'll be cool, and it'll get a lot of use. Questions?
The picture shows like cement or pavers or anything. You said this is gonna be grass. How is that going to, how's the gazebo going to attach and not?
Great question. It attaches in concrete. So it's an in-a-box solution to be set on concrete. So the same way that we put the flagpole in up there, you put some concrete in there, the post sits on it and it bolts right down to there. So there's concrete bolts into that. The picture is stock. We don't plan it to have that kind of a flooring, but we just could strip it out of Photoshop. Does that make sense? Yeah.
So it sits on piers instead of a pad.
Right. 100%.
You're just gonna have to forgive my ignorance here.
No.
But I thought, and maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but I thought that Gray's Lot, eventually the farmer's market was gonna be put on Gray's Lot. Am I wrong?
So I'll answer that one. We had the discussion on whether the farmer's market would end up on Gray's Lot. There wasn't consensus with the council because there was still this, we would like to explore whether infill development made the most sense. And we started kind of down that path of like, maybe we should keep going with more design. And I think ultimately this is kind of like the compromise solution. Let's see how it works. We can still work on whether infill ever makes any sense. But this is kind of that medium space and almost like that iterative planning to see if it gets utilized, see what the space ultimately looks
So
like.
even with these gazebos, they could eventually move the farmer's market to.
Oh, yeah.
That's what
All events.
Or
Yeah.
be part of
I
it.
mean, even
Yeah.
leaving the gazebo there, you could have the farmer's market.
That is not out of the question, to leave that into the design, depending on, the specs of that building. That'll be for the engineers and people to draw those things out for us and show us how that would kind of navigate. But yeah, it's just it's an inexpensive, quick way to get something out that is durable and beautiful and watch the use of it while we're considering what might go on the other part of that. So it's temporary. And if we change our minds and some developer comes along tomorrow and wants to put up something different and wants to be entertained, we take them out, we move them somewhere else. Sell them, whatever that looks like.
They can't be reused to someone else.
So I have one more down question.
No dumb questions.
So I'm just, the UTV parade that we do, they always have the little, not bonfires, but
Fire pits.
Fire pits, thank you. They would still be able to do that down there, because I think that's one of those hallmark moments that you see down there when you go down there at Christmas time, they've got the fire pits.
Yeah, so, yeah. And I think ultimately, Pat, that's part of it, is that the space the intent is that the space can still be utilized for community events. This is just what happens on the days when there's not something else there.
I like that more.
So it's kind of
You guys put some good work into it.
Or use during those events. I mean, you can still use it during the UTV parade, you know, if you had a table setting under there, if, you know, it was snowing or raining, somebody could escape underneath. You could put the fire pits underneath.
Beer tent under there.
Vendor markets, it would just require a little bit of a shift of furniture, which is really easy. It's not going to be anything to prevent in there.
And how about storage and stuff for the furniture and stuff in the winter months? Is there a plan for that?
We actually have a storage unit. The historic district has leased a storage unit, and we in and out with that all the time for our events, for our games, for our Christmas. We've got a ton of Christmas, and we're adding to that each year. So great question. Yes, we have a place for it.
And as far as the city mowing Gray's Lot, is the city okay with moving all of that every week when you have to mow Gray's Lot?
It's gonna be a challenge. I haven't seen the design, so I don't know what we're.
Hold on one sec.
You lost it.
Okay, so when the historic district, presented the option, I actually brought that up, and they have offered to pay. So if there was any, like if our mowing contract goes up, you know, $50 a mow because they have to weed around, you know, more items, then the historic district indicated that they would be willing to absorb that cost for us for that specific reason.
And we have debated on multiple lots downtown on what to do, what not to do with them. We had someone that wanted to expand and the building and do some additional parking downtown, and that stalled because we always come back to, well, what if someday somebody wanted to build there? And 5 years later, it's
Well, I was
just
gonna
a
say,
lot.
I've been on the council now 3 years, and I think we've talked about this multiple times, so. I think you guys put some good work into this.
Thank you. It just, it kind of came up in design, and we were just planning what we want our downtown to look like. So I think we're doing a good job of adding elements and things that are what we call conversation areas, conversation pits that bring people together. So those Adirondacks that you see all pointing to each other are for conversation and gathering to happen. This will be a bigger version of that. So we'll leave those spaces where they are right now and continue adding places that bring people down. We want to be that town that you've seen on the 41 News who has taken an interest in us lately. And they show pictures of us, and people come not just to Parkville and Overland Park and other cool places, they come to Pleasant Hill.
So would people be able to rent the gazebos for like a birthday party or?
Not out of the question. I would think that that would be something that we could probably partner with community betterment on. I'm thinking we're sort of in the rent management business-ish. So sure, we'd be willing to open that up. Initially, it's just getting it on the ground and getting something out sooner than later for us to enjoy this season and demonstrate progress and beautification and all the things.
If it was approved today, how soon do you think it would be before it would be up and going?
We order the building in the morning, it's generally delivered in the evening. And then when it hits the ground here, we've got to do it.
So one of the questions we looked at, does it fit the plan? And one of the components of the comprehensive plan is bringing in all the other plans. And the historic district plan, 2014, I believe is that one.
Okay.
That's where it has this Gray's Lot slotted as a farmer's market. That's where those discussions come out. So I mean, it is part of ongoing planning, the plans we have in place.
No, because the new one says develop.
All right, any other questions?
Well, Mr. Mayor, you had also challenged us to try to put together plans that work with a potential train depot stop, something of that nature. We think that would add a lot of interest for people that would come down with a bicycle or for an afternoon or whatever that looks like, and have a place to go with cover, with any weather, and just make us look more hospitable. And personality-wise, I think this is a needed one.
We have events off the streets, so we're not closing streets.
Never into the streets.
All right, any other questions from council? Thank you. If anyone from the public would like to comment, please step up, state your name and address, please.
I just have a quick question. I think it's great. I think it'll really help down there. Carla Marie, here in North County Street. My question is, when we have events at Gray's Lot, would we still be going through the city to rent that space? And if so, do we just do we get the entire space, the gazebo's included, and the furniture? Or does that change and we're renting from community betterment now? Or how does that work? Because that is where almost all events, not just us, not just downtown Pleasant Hill, I mean, the Ryan Schools, all that stuff happens in Gray's Lot. And so if that's going to change, I would like to know if that's planning on changing.
I don't see a need to change that, it just goes to the city.
So it still goes through and we can use the furniture, we can use the.
Those are discussions we can have, but me personally, I don't see a change in how we do for that lot, so.
That's great, thank you.
Just like we have a gazebo
Carla,
over here.
thank you for bringing that up. What we want to do with that is make it inclusive. We don't want to make it exclusive and only this group or only this event or any of that. It is inclusive. It is for Pleasant Hill.
Well, as long as the city council is still doing that part, then it's great.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on this topic? So what do we need tonight?
So it would really just be a motion and a second of, if you are approving, I guess, to move forward with the use of the lot as presented tonight, if that's what you also choose.
Do I have a motion on the proposed improvements to Gray's Lot?
I'll make a motion to approve the improvements on Gray's Lot.
I second.
I have a motion and a second to go ahead with the improvements on Gray's Lot as presented. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilwoman Niner?
Yes.
Councilwoman Newberry?
Come back to me.
Councilwoman Emo?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doomer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Newberry?
Sure.
Sure.
Mr. Mayor, may I make a comment, please? This, because it is in the historic district, will need to come before Historic Preservation Commission for approval of those materials before any construction can begin.
Good point. Right about that. Thanks, Missy.
All right. The next item is a special events application for the Pleasant Hill Historic District.
Hi there, Lisa Hoffman, Willow Boutique, 116 South First Street, and representing the Pleasant Hill Historic District. So this request goes in tandem with the already planned cruise night that's happening on June 20th. We've had a summer block party the last 2 years, and it's been a great time. Same thing, it was in tandem with the car event. And we just wanted to piggyback with them again this year and add some extra elements. So you'll see, like, we're really using most of the Cruise Night team's pieces with their band. We just are proposing, we both of us talked together, our groups, that we can put the band on the Western Auto Lot parking lot. Then it's right in the middle, and people can sit at Mural Park and enjoy the music. They can be on either side of the tracks. There's only one band kind of appeasing the entire crowd, the entire downtown. And I believe that the parking lot was already approved with the cruise night request back, early in the spring. But if not, we would just want to be able to put our band there so they're in a good place. And requesting that we use the city stage, so they can be up high and people can hear it better and see them better. And with that, we're going to have some bouncy houses for the kids. That's free, everything's free for them to bounce at night, and yard games, just like small elements like that over in Gray's Lot. And that's about it. It'll go from 5 to 9, so everything wrapped up, and it goes without saying, cleaning up at the end of the night, making sure that we picked up after ourselves, of course, and trash, and putting things back where they belong.
All right, any questions from council?
Bouncy houses usually have extra insurance. Do you?
Yeah, she has that.
And is that lot on Western Auto parking lots good to go for?
Any other questions? Any comment from staff on this?
No, the only thing we were just gonna clarify, but we can work this out with the historic district, is the trailer stage okay? We have two different
Yes,
stages.
yes,
I
yes.
assumed it still worked.
Oh, we have 2 stages? What's the other one?
Oh, it's
Oh, we don't want to talk about those. We'll save that for another day. Oh, no, we want the easy one, we want to be, this is an easy thing, we want it to be free and fun, and just a little extra, make it a summer block party, and, you know, just everybody have fun.
The only, I have one question of, the cruise night people, I'm assuming that they're okay with using that. Well, part of
Yeah, that's
they
what they
don't have
said, is we've already partnered with our cruise night team, which is,
I want to make sure, I
Yeah.
think so, but I just.
absolutely, yeah, because that's their night, but, we always, if we can help, like, level up and add a few extras so that more people can come down and, you know, just enjoy the night, like kick off the summer in a fun way, and it's free, and we're working hard on trying to get lots of events, and you've, like our farmers market, we've leveled that up this year, and trying to get more activities for the community, and we've got some really great things planned, so making it family friendly.
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions? All right, so do I have a motion on the special events application?
I'll make a motion to approve the special event application for the historic district.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the special events application for June 20th, 2025. All in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Passes.
Okay, great. Well, hopefully we see you guys soon.
Next item is Resolution 25-20, a resolution authorizing the city administrator to execute a change order, number 1, with Smyco Contracting Group LLC for the Timber Street Pump House renovations and extending the time to complete the project.
I'm gonna start this one, but Tony can fill in a lot of holes on this one, more than likely, no pun intended. So we've encountered a number of issues with the pump house renovation since we last saw you not too terribly long ago. So specifically on the exterior, as they were doing the work, we've noticed deteriorating pipes and what I'm gonna call non-typical encasements. And so after we have done now our second emergency repair of that pump house, and the second one being very, very close to the building, Tony approached them about doing a change order. And that change order, and he can talk about it in a little bit more detail, is effectively not replacing the pipes that are outside of there, but putting in a new one that comes out of the pump house directly. That way we're not working with these older pipes, we're not having to worry about this, and we can know that we get it right with one improvement. The change order that we have right now, they've quoted us somewhere in the ballpark, I think of just under $8,900. But we don't have that official change order in hand. So the way that I've written this is to authorize me to execute that change order up to $10,000. I don't think it will be that much, but that was kind of our safer number. That way we're not holding it up and we're not asking you guys for a special meeting to execute that, and then I can put it on the consent agenda for the next meeting, just so you guys have an awareness of what that change order actually was. So the plan right now is to complete repairs on Thursday. I think that's still the plan.
Hopefully,
Okay.
we have got some materials we've been waiting on. I'm hoping to have those in my hands tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow late morning. So we should be good to go, and hopefully we can work the schedules out with Smyco to be able to get that on the docket for Thursday.
We also have a valve repair in the same area, kind of on what I'll call the same line nearby. that we need to repair. We're trying to streamline and get those two things done at the exact same time so that we reduce the number of precautionary boil advisories that we'll need to do. Whenever this work is done, we already know that we will need a system-wide boil advisory. So we're planning for it as much as we know, like when it's actually going to happen will help us with kind of our communication to residents that we know will come on short notice. But just so you guys know, it's not because there's something that's known, it's because of the work that's being done. Additionally, as we talked through it, Tony and I felt it was necessary to give the contractor additional time to do this because we've been at least 2 weeks since, 2 weeks delay just because of the emergencies that have occurred. And so you guys have already granted them an additional 30 days. And I have asked for an extension of another 30 days to do that completion, substantial completion on June 22nd, 2025, before we start assessing liquidated damages. So that is what I have. Tony, you can fill in many details there.
If you've got any questions, I can answer any questions regarding what we found there.
So since we backdated the original one, it just extends it through the 22nd?
Yes, through June 22nd.
Correct. Okay. When you said another 30 days, I was like, no. I'm
Yeah,
not doing it until July.
the first 30 days was through
May 23rd.
23rd.
Yep.
So
Right.
just do another 30.
I forget, it's been a while since we did that.
Yeah.
And do we think that's doable, that they can get all that done by June 22nd?
We can have all of the additional change order and all that kind of stuff done easily by the 22nd. Some of the other stuff may drag out still as they're finishing up.
Yeah, so Pat, we discussed that a lot last week. I don't know that the contractor will be completely done with their work by June 22nd. But again, that doesn't, I mean, it really just means that's the date in which the liquidated damages would kick in. Because we knew we couldn't give them the entire time because of the reasons that we discussed in the last meeting.
Yeah,
We knew this has caused them at least 2 weeks delay, and then they're gonna have to do the work, so we felt 30 was a reasonable.
by the time we get the materials and we get the schedule on, it's gonna be at least 2.5 weeks of delay just because of what we found there. So that's why we thought, okay, they're being pretty fair with us on this change order, it's fairly inexpensive. Let's give them an additional 30 days, that'll help them out, help us out, hopefully we can get this thing completed behind us.
Since this is my precinct and everything, and we're talking boil orders, how are constituents going to get notified for that?
Just to be clear, it's a boil advisory and not an order.
Advisory,
Yes.
okay.
It is just a precautionary advisory, and it will be citywide. It won't be
Okay.
just for your district.
Perfect. Yeah, so,
How will we let them know?
yes, so, I told Kylie today, I mean, because it's gonna be full city and because we're aware that this is going to occur, to alert, like, we'll use regular news, like Kansas City Media News, to let them know, you know, this is, I mean, it is routine. If you're doing this type of work, you needed to do this anyway. And then, we're still refining how else we'll let everyone know, whether we'll do Everbridge, we'll probably do Everbridge and do that direct communication as well.
So in actuality, we're not really giving them an extra 30 days, are we? Because if we're saying they only have till June 22nd to get that finished, they're only getting...
From their last date.
Last 30 days.
Yeah.
From May 23rd.
Right, but I mean, to get these, I guess maybe I'm confused. To get these pipes that you're talking about, we're only giving them like about 9 days or so to...
So the last council meeting, they had asked for 60 days. We gave them 30.
Restricted to May 22nd.
So they still knew that they were gonna be working an extra 30 days beyond when we said the project should be done. So we're giving them an extra 30 for the fact that we've delayed for 2.5 weeks. So they're still net a little bit ahead of where they were before. Yes, I get that there's still a limited number of days between now and June 22nd. We really don't think that they'll have it completely wrapped up by that time. They'll still have liquidated damages, my guess.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
The whole backdating made that confusing.
It is a little bit.
It did last time too.
Yep.
All right, any other questions?
I have one. has it ever been thought about just replace the whole entire thing, brand new? Because
Well-
it just seems like it's,
That is basically what we're doing. We found some additional deterioration on the exterior portion of the pipe, and that's why I don't want to connect back to that pipe. So we're gonna core out the wall and go directly inside and tie directly to the T and the piping that's already inside. The piping inside is solid because it's not been buried in the ground and had corrosion, electrolysis and all that kind of stuff eating away at the pipe. So this would be our best bet to tie back into that, then we eliminate any of that corroded pipe outside. This last leak was within 2 feet of the wall. So it's time to just core through the wall and tie it back in.
All right, there's no other questions from council. Anyone from the public have comment on this? All right, I need a resolution on 25-20, a resolution authorizing the city administrator to execute a change order number 1 with Smyco Contracting Group LLC for the Timber Street Pump House renovations and extending the time to complete the project to June 22nd.
I'll make that motion for resolution 25-20, the resolution authorizing the city administrator to execute a change order number 1 with Smyco Contracting Group LLC for the Timber Street Pump House renovations and extending the time to complete the project to June 22nd, 2025.
I second.
Mayor, is that a motion to approve or deny?
A motion to approve. Sorry.
So I have a motion to approve on 25-20. I also have a second. Roll call vote, please.
Councilwoman Niner,
Yes.
Councilwoman Newberry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Emo,
Yes.
Councilwoman Doomer.
Yes.
We're going to have a discussion about shortening the names of these resolutions.
Hey, but then your motion has it all in it, other than whether to approve or deny.
Resolution 25-21, a resolution authorizing the city administrator to execute task orders and agreements with Alpha Omega Geotech Incorporated for on-call geotechnical engineering and testing.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll take this one as well. In the fall, we issued a request for qualifications for on-call geotechnical services and testing. We received 7 submissions, and Alpha Omega Consulting or Geotech was considered universally to be the most qualified responder. The way that requests for qualifications work, we look at what the qualifications are and then we negotiate pricing. We were fortunate at the time that we also had Navigate Building Solutions to be able to verify whether their pricing was reasonable, and they considered that it was reasonable within the Kansas City market. We have been utilizing Alpha Omega for the parks projects. They've done a lot of materials testing on the parks. I think they've done, they or will do some coring here soon. And we have used them for some borings at the animal shelter location as well. I'm getting ready to execute some additional task agreements. And with the task agreements, we don't have like a master agreement with them, but each time the terms come in, with the entire package. But we're getting ready to execute one on the animal shelter. We are doing one, I think they're doing some work on the police station as well. And we've now had to add them to our 7 highway water line project as well. Based on that, in totality, I will be bumping up very closely to the $50,000 that does require council approval. Other than that, we've still been within my authority to be able to execute these. So I thought it was really time for us to have the conversation and see if you guys were okay with us continuing with Alpha Omega as our on-call geotech firm. The way that we solicited the bids was that, or the request for qualifications was that it would be a 3-year term with the option to renew for another 2 years. We've had no issues utilizing them. It's worked really seamlessly. They've done good work. And so I just really would like your consideration to pass this resolution to allow them to continue to serve in that capacity for the next 3 years.
Questions from council? Hearing no questions, anyone from the public like to comment on this resolution? All right, I need a motion for Resolution 25-21, a resolution authorizing the city administrator to execute task orders and agreements with Alpha Omega Geotech Incorporated for on-call geotechnical engineering and testing.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 25-21, a resolution authorizing the city administrator to execute task orders and agreements with Alpha Omega Geotech Inc. for on-call geotechnical engineering and testing.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second on Resolution 25-21. Motion to approve. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Councilwoman Niner?
Yes.
Councilwoman Newberry?
Yes.
Councilwoman Emo?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doomer?
Yes.
All right, resolution passes. Next item is Bill 25-22, a proposed ordinance of the city of Pleasant Hill to enter into a lease purchase agreement, Fairgrounds Arena Capital Improvement.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight with us, we have Joey McCliney, the city's financial advisor. He will go through the details, just a little brief recap. Back on March the 24th, the city council voted to move forward with this project and authorize staff to negotiate the contract. We did so through resolution number 25-15. And then Joey was here previously where resolution 25-16 was approved that authorized the lease purchasing financing through a COP or certificate of participation. So that then gave Joey basically his marching orders to go do what it is that he does. And then now he is back to give you the update and do the final approval of the COP. And if I mess something up, Joey will correct me 100%.
It was perfect. So you have in front of you the payment schedule. On the other side is how the money is spent. I want to talk about a couple of things. This is a little bit unusual in terms of you guys have issued general obligation bonds, you've issued revenue bonds. This is a lease purchase or certificate of participation type borrow. I won't call it a bond. I call it a bond all the time, but it's not a bond. One thing we have set up for this is we have a trustee. So all funds must go to the trustee bank to be dispersed. Now the reason we do that is because the bonds are secured by the equipment, being the bleachers, and any additional work there. If all of a sudden we end up with the contingency fund or part of the contingency fund remaining, we cannot spend it on anything other than what is at the county fairgrounds. Or the city county fairgrounds. Well, your economic development fairgrounds, let's call it that. That's really what it is. So anytime money is spent, including the bleachers, including the concrete work, what will happen is you'll get an invoice, it'll be submitted to UMB Bank, UMB Bank will pay it. So all funds have to go through our trustee bank. And so that's really the structure of this. And again, it's because until you actually have everything built, there's no collateral for this. And so we really want it to be held by a trustee bank. Now, let's say at the end, construction's finished, we end up with, pick a number, well, I'll just pick a number of the first year's payment, first big payment. Let's say we have $38,000 remaining. It will go to the payment of the principal and interest. So there cannot be anything extra spent on anything that is not in this project. Oh, you also have a 5-year call feature, so when rates go down, we will be able to refinance the lower line.
What's the current rate?
And yes, this is a new style of shoe. I'm sure people are going to take this on. I have foot surgery on Friday.
Thank you for being here.
All right, questions from council?
Got my notes going through everything. If we can't make a payment, I mean, because aren't the fair, I just have so many things going on through my head. Because we are supposed to be paying this back through with fair money, correct?
So I'll tell you, the bank doesn't necessarily care how we pay it back.
Right.
Joey knows this. With the COP, our obligation is just, we'll pay it back. Like, typically what you're gonna have is the pool, for instance, is paid for with a COP. So it's not the first time we've issued COPs. Joey probably knows the long history of the city and COPs well before me, and he knows many other cities use them too.
Right.
So it's with funds on hand, really. So like with the pool, there's the sales tax that generates the revenue that helps make that debt payment. As we've talked about before, our intent, yes, is very much that the fair and its proceeds are going to be able to make those debt payments. We've already calculated how much we think we can get just on seating capacity with no increases to any pricing. Whether if we thought we were at risk at some point, we can throw together additional events. If we, for whatever reason, end up renting out the fairgrounds more regularly to other people, the revenue received on that can go towards that debt payment.
So there's no.
I just felt earlier that it was my obligation to tell you all what the potential risk is. And the potential risk is the general fund would have to cover the expense. But no, it's fully our intent to be able to have the fair pay for it.
Can I just add, Shelby's example too, so just because I think it probably poses a good question. As she said on the pool, it's paid for by an approved sales tax. If sales tax goes down, and when we approved that, it was based on an estimated revenue of what the sales tax would generate. If that sales tax goes down and it doesn't generate enough, it's the exact same concept. The general fund would have to make the pool payment. So it's the same concept that was done, that you go into it with the thought of this is the revenue source that will pay for it. If it does not, the general fund pays for it, just as in the example with the pool. If sales tax, were to go down, or if you were to lose a major sales tax provider and that amount isn't enough, the general fund is then what pays for it.
The pool operates every
And
day
what
for
if
summer.
we do not pass this lease purchase agreement? What happens then?
You're out, I think you've already paid $100,000 for the bleachers, and so you'll turn them around and probably lose the $100,000.
Well, we already signed a contract.
Yeah, we've already signed a contract on this one, and we've already paid, Amy knows the number, but it's over $100,000. We already have the concrete in the ground. Like, you guys have heard this one multiple times to get to this point, and this was our financing mechanism. Joey and I talked about, there are other financing mechanisms if we wanted to, like the general fund has enough money in our fund balances that we could pay this outright if we wanted to, and set up a structure in which we reimburse ourselves with interest. Basically, the fair reimburses the general fund, but doing so, we felt like was not a good political move, because ultimately, you guys are also responsible to citizens who are saying, but I would like this improved, I would like this improved. Setting it up through this financing mechanism, then it is kind of the fair's responsibility to make those payments with no effect on the general fund until and if by chance that occurs.
So my only question is, if something happened to the fair and we no longer have it, we still have the money to pay for it?
You guys always have the fair. You are the organizers of the
And
fair.
yes, you do have the money to pay
That's what I
for
thought.
it tomorrow.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's, as Shelby mentioned, I came back and said, what about this, what about this, what about this? You guys can pay for this, you can afford this. In 5 years, you guys will have the option, you could retire if you wanted to.
So,
You would reach into your general fund or the park fund or some fund, or, the fair fund. And if the money's there, you can retire without penalty.
so if we don't use the contingency fund or portion of it, it rolls back into paying it off, correct?
Yes, correct.
Is there a penalty if a year down the road, one of the investors wants to have naming rights and pay what's of it? Is there a penalty for paying it off sooner?
We will not be able to pay it off before 5 years. If someone wanted naming rights, what we would do is we would escrow the money and it would just about pay for it. You could probably earn what it's paying. So we could set up an escrow to do the same thing.
Any other questions for Joe? Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
If anyone from the public would like to comment, please step up, state your name and address for the record, please.
Here I go. Carla Murray, sorry. Carla Murray, 300 North Campbell, I said that a lot tonight. 300 on my address now, right? What is the rate that we're paying? Nobody said, that's not in the packet that we got.
The rates.
4.95%,
That's great. And what is the payment every year?
20 years, roughly 39,000.
Okay. And where's that in the budget?
First of all, in your general fund, you have 3 times that coming in the county fair funds based on last year. The income from just the bleachers would cover, I believe, 30. The new size should cover the additional.
In the budget that I just looked at that was just passed like half an hour before we said.
It's revenue based, so
Okay.
it's off the revenue.
Well, I understand, but if you look at, I understand what you're saying. I also know how to read a profit and loss statement.
Right.
I also know how to read a budget. In the budget, it shows you're losing $31,000 on the fair. It says there's, on the special events, 65. There's a deficiency, it's in parentheses, I assume that's a negative. So where's it coming out of that money? Where's the fair money showing that they got money to pay for it?
So Amy is looking into this, I can tell right now. So the way that we really budget for the fair is we don't, some years make more money than others. And so that would have been excess revenue from the previous year that we reallocated into this year's budget for maintenance. So if you take out the maintenance component, we would not be losing that much because we've budgeted $55,000 for maintenance.
So we're not gonna put this payment in the budget anywhere?
No, eventually it will make its way into the budget. Well, we can do a budget amendment into the future after this has been executed. Typically what ends up happening is the COP payments all go into the debt service fund, and then each responsible fund makes the transfer in.
Well, I understand how things typically happen, but as a resident, I want to be able to see it on paper.
You will.
Okay, and so that's something I would like to see. The other question I have is that when council talked about this and when it was brought up, it was $375,000. And this is a loan for a principal of $490,000. What happened?
There's a contingency fee in here of 19%, so as you saw with the animal shelter, we've almost eaten up the contingency fee already.
So it's gonna cost $490,000 and not $375,000.
When you add in different things in here that were, the bleachers as were proposed, were $342,500.
Okay, but the
Now
project is gonna
we've
cost.
added concrete, and we had fees and different things like that in there, and they built in a contingency from that.
I come to all council meetings.
I know.
I wasn't at last one, I'll give you that, because I had pneumonia, but, I've never heard any of that discussed. What I heard discussed was, we need $375,000 to put bleachers in. Nobody ever said it was gonna rise up to $490,500,000 to put in one section of bleachers, do concrete and stuff. And my complaint is, not my complaint necessarily, but my concern is we need more transparency from you guys on that. This kind of little add-on things can't keep happening in the back, and then we're just gonna push this through at $490,000. And that's our, I mean, it is our money. It is our money. And how we're being spent. And I understand what staff is saying is that they're trying to relieve you guys of responsibility politically by doing it this way, so that residents won't be mad because I need a drainage thing fixed at the corner of Campbell and Myrtle. And we're gonna spend money on this, but I'm sorry, I still hold you accountable. Whether or not it pulls you back or not, makes you not look accountable or not, you are accountable for this decision and this money that you're spending. Thank you.
Yep. Anyone else?
I got an email from somebody in my precinct, pretty much the same questions Carla just had. I mean, literally, they're asking the same questions. How is that proposed? That was originally $250,000, has now become $500,000. There are some hesitation on the original vote. Would those council members like to revisit the original vote on the $500,000 expenditure? How about the water lines? Are they fixed? The roads all paved? Are all of the other issues of the police station and animal care facility dealt with? What is the rush? How much money do we make on the fair? And why was this not in the budget?
Yep.
My name is Jessica Elliott, 217 North Campbell. I just really want to reiterate the same thing that Carla said. Just seems absurd to me. I can't think of another time where, in council, where we have approved something of this nature for this amount without taxpayer support going before the citizens for a vote, for a tax increase, or no tax increase, whatever you want to call it, like we're doing with the animal shelter, because that's what I keep hearing, all of this being compared to is, oh, like we're doing with the animal shelter, oh, like with this and with that. But this never went before voters.
Thank you. Just to reiterate, so this is a certificate of participation. It is a lease purchase. The city has used them a few times over the years for different
I can
projects.
think of 4 that I have worked on since I've been here, not 4 separate issuances, but 4 that I'm aware of.
So, I mean, this is a common mechanism for cities to work on capital improvements of buildings and structures such as that. This one is tied to revenues. So, are there any other comments? All right. Hearing no other comments, do I have a motion on bill number 25-22, a proposed ordinance of the city of Pleasant Hill to enter into a lease purchase agreement for the Fairgrounds Arena Capital Improvement Financing?
I'll make a motion to approve bill number 25-2020. Excuse me, I'm starting. I'll make a motion to approve bill number 25-22, proposed ordinance entering into the lease purchase agreement for the financing of the bleacher capital improvements at the Cass County Fairgrounds.
I second.
Have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Sure. Councilwoman Niner?
Yes.
Councilwoman Newberry?
I'm just gonna say no because it just hurts.
Councilwoman Emo?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doomer?
Yes.
All right, passes 3-1. Next item is discussion of an SRO position.
Okay, Mayor, I'm gonna start this one and then Chief can fill in with anything that he has as well. So Chief reached out to me recently. As you guys are aware, the school district has 2 school resource officers. One has historically been staffed by the Cass County Sheriff's Department, and one was staffed by, or is staffed by the city of Pleasant Hill. The current county SRO has recently taken a promotion, so we know that they're in the market for a new school resource officer. So Chief approached me and said, hey, is now the time to have the conversation on whether the city of Pleasant Hill would be willing to offer host isn't even the right word, staff, to add to our staffing to be able to provide that school resource officer to the district. We have not had any conversations with the school district about this. We wanted your input first. And the way that this really works for us is, in order for us to meet our operational need within the police department and to house a school resource officer, it would be an additional position that we think would be necessary. The school district already has agreements in place to reimburse the cost while they are in school, but there isn't an additional expense to the city. That's the first thing I told the chief. I go, it always comes down to money, right? Like, of course the answer is, yes, we would love to do this. So it really comes down to financially, does it make sense for us and does it meet the need for us? So I just kind of wanted to put some information in front of you guys for your consideration and discussion. So like I said, the school district reimburses an amount per day. I went through and looked at what the cost of an officer would be, and that's like all inclusive. That would be any insurance, ancillary benefits, rate of pay. We went through uniforms, we went through equipment, and additionally, we would recommend the addition of a new vehicle for that person too. There are a number of them that share vehicles, but in this case, we felt we were at the point that we would be warranted for a new one. So I think the net impact to the city would be around $65,000, and that's the net impact, keep that in mind. And so it really comes down to, you know, are you guys interested in us exploring this? We haven't put a whole lot of time into how we would fund it. you know, I just kind of wanted to know what your direction was, if you were interested or not. Chief, do you have anything additional to add?
No, I mean, so I've made it very clear that as we grow, and I've even told Sheriff Weber this, I feel very passionate about us being involved with the school district. These are our kids, these are our schools. We need to be the ones that handle all the SRO assignments. But obviously, we haven't grown enough to add that additional staffing yet. This is a point in which I think it would be an easy transition for us to do so. That net impact that she talked about, I think would be lesser in the second year after, you know, the uniforms are bought and the things like that are bought. And really, I think what it would end up is we would be paying for about a quarter of an officer, and the rest would be paid for by the school district. So it's a way for us to have that additional resource that we're really only paying 3 or 4 months for out of our own pockets.
So is this adding an SRO officer or just replacing the county clerk?
This would be adding another officer to our roles and replacing that county one with one of ours.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't really feel like we're in a position with the existing staffing that we have to be able to deploy somebody in that SRO capacity to replace it without adding to our regular patrol force.
So Cass County's not gonna replace one.
No, they
They could,
are.
they
Their
would.
intention is.
They would if we didn't do it.
But I think this, and the conversations that I've had with the sheriff is, hey, look, if you want to have all the schools in Pleasant Hill, I can put my deputies in other schools out in the county. And so I think this is kind of that time where we could, it doesn't have to be now. We don't have to make this decision now, but I think it would be a good time for us to make a decision to do so now.
When do we lose the SRO that we have now? Is he already gone?
We don't lose, what do you mean? We don't lose it.
Because they're getting the promotion,
Oh, that SRO?
Yes.
The county's SRO?
yes,
Yes, he's already gone.
he's already gone.
So-
So we are the only ones there right now.
We have none there. This
We
is,
have none.
this is in August through June, through the end of school.
Okay,
Yeah, so there's nobody there right now. If we choose not to do this, the county will replace the position. Theirs, right? Ours still stays the same, we're good on ours. If we chose to offer this, then the county would forego theirs and the 2 would be staffed by the city.
and this is what you would like, is both officers be Pleasant Hill officers.
I think it's what we're supposed to do.
So we could ask you to look at this to see how we're gonna, how you can fund it
Correct.
without making a commitment.
Yes.
That's what I'm.
Yeah, we're not looking for necessarily a commitment tonight. We want your input on, is this something that I should approach the school with and see, and quite frankly, talk to the sheriff about as well.
I'm with Pat on this, but let's at least explore and see what it looks like financially, and then go from there. Bless you.
Thank you.
Any other comments from council? So I'm real big about be able to fund the position first. Is the grant opportunity still there to try to get another cop grant?
I'm trying to think when the cutoff is on it. I'll look. I know it's in June.
Okay. I mean, my thing is you always be able to fund it first. Then if you get it, you're just in a better position than to get it and not be able to pay for it 3 years from now, 2 years from now. Is that your guys'
3.
3 years?
3.
Yeah. Any other questions from council? Comments from the public?
Pat Clifford, 409 North Lake Street. Would it be possible, or something that we should probably look at, is the county funding that additional cost to us since they won't be funding, is it?
No, so they pay their out of pocket, but they get, that position is partially paid by the school.
Reimbursed by the school.
Right.
But they won't,
They pay for that. They'll just take that officer and move them to another school. So no, they won't give us money towards that.
it's not worth trying to pursue.
They won't.
Good job, Pat. Good idea.
Yeah, they know they won't. All right, so is the council's direction for staff to look to see how they would fund it?
That would be mine.
Okay. Work on it? I'd probably go ahead and start having those discussions too. All right. Have any other items? So we'll start with staff reports. Missy?
So most recently, again, I've been filling in for building inspectors, so doing building permit reviews, lots of code enforcement. I think I sent out 57 enforcement letters just last month. Got some follow through on that, so that made me feel a little good, but not really. Just a lot of tall grass out there. As far as development goes, I have received one variance application that will be heard before BZA in July. That is for a street frontage at 1602 Country Club, which most of you will know as the storage units for the old golf course there. I also attended a historic preservation virtual camp this year. That was pretty informing. It was nice to get some more information since I'm serving in that role now. And then most of you are aware I did have to serve an emergency condemnation last week at 612 Benton. So I have been in contact with that property owner today, actually, to let them know what the procedure is. So
What was the address again? Sorry.
612 Benton. So
Oh, okay.
it's down, it's a trailer within that trailer.
And it was non-occupied.
It was non-occupied, yes, it is not occupiable. After speaking with what I'm assuming is the owner today, she did inform me that there are no utilities to that property, either electric and water, and gas have all been terminated.
Amy?
I helped facilitate business license renewals, so we sent out around 800 letters this year, a couple weeks ago for business licenses, and Missy has been helping process it. Jody's been kind of in and out, so we've been helping with that. Aaron and I, my accounts payable, met up at the bank to talk to them regarding some electronic fund transfer processing. A lot of our checks that go through, they take weeks to clear, and we have a lot of routine checks like energy and stuff that takes forever, and there's so many accounts. So we're trying to figure out that process, if it'd be quicker to get to them through that. And then they offer positive pay, help with fraud on checks. The bank, you give them a list of checks that you wrote, and then they can double check when those checks come through, so you can clear correctly, the right payee. And then in 4 weeks, I have an audit, and that will start the week of the fair, actually, so. And we are gonna put the trash increase in our newsletter, to let everybody know what that increase will be, and through some of our other social media.
It's time for the audit already.
He always makes them very
I
honest.
just feel like we just got done. Jeff?
Since our last meeting, we have opened the pool. We've been having a lot of participation over there. And just for your all's visibility of what we have for age requirements, it's 13 or 12 and under need to have a responsible party. The responsible party has to be 16 or older, and the responsible party has to be an entrant into the facility. There's been a lot of discussion on that because the pool management company has responsibility and liability to make sure that they are, providing life safety to the persons in the water and not providing babysitting to everybody that's sitting on the patio. So that's why we put those regulations in place, just for y'all's visibility. The complex, on the west field on the complex, the upper field, as the soccer field, we've actually opened that up this last week and been using that for gameplay on one of the fields. The reason it's only one of them is because the temporary panels to make the second set of outfield has not been received yet. There was a problem in shipping. There's apparently a truck that got lost somewhere somehow, so we're tracking that down. And once that is received, we will go ahead and open up both those fields. That way we can try and get caught up on our rec programming We are pretty far behind because of the rain as far as cancellations and rescheduling. So we're just trying to make accommodations to make sure we can get that program completed. And also just, we've been putting that messaging through social media, but just for your all's visibility and encouragement if you can. Both the city park and the complex are still not open to the public. They're allowing us those specific fields on the sports complex just so that we can do our programming and meet those requirements. But the playground, the skate park, the other areas, those are not open to the public. We've been having a police response quite often to come out there and help keep people off those and keep them safe. A lot of it for liability purposes because we don't have that on our insurance coverage yet. It's still a construction project, so just if you can, if people are asking you questions, please make sure that they're aware that it is not open.
Can I ask him a question? Yeah. I have two questions. So one is on the pool. I know you probably saw all the stuff on Facebook about that, but has that always been the issue that if you weren't, like if I'm just a parent going to the pool, I still have to pay? I'm not getting in the water, I'm just there watching my 10-year-old.
It's kind of like the pool party reservations where it's always been kind of a gray area. It's never been listed specifically as entrance to the pool. It's always just been kind of some people assume that's how many people are going to be getting in the water. But regardless, the pool management company and us, we're liable for anybody that's on the property. So if they fall and trip and break their leg, we have to take lifeguards off the stand to come help do that medical response. We are responsible for that. We have to make do our due diligence that way. So we're going to make sure that they're actually coming into the pool and being accounted for in that way for a lot of it for capacity reasons too. So we know exactly how many people are inside the facility.
And my second question is pickleball. Do you know when those courts will be open?
Same thing, whenever we do the grand opening, and we've been talking about that a lot, trying to figure out and pinpoint those dates. As of now, we have chains on the gates. We try to put padlocks on the gates and people have just forced their way in and actually bent the openers days after the construction was completed. So we've chained them now, trying to keep people out, but same thing, for liability purposes and reasoning, we're keeping that isolated until we do the full park opening.
Are there any parks that are open?
Currently, no.
No.
Yes, yeah, so City Lake Playground is open right now, and Doppert Fitness Park has playground equipment as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there are still things available to
I
the
think that needs to be put out on Facebook, what is open, because that's been a question a lot, I've seen. So what's closed and what's open.
The grass seeds are growing well.
It's growing fast. But it's growing here very irregularly, so we can't actually get on it to mow the tall stuff until the short stuff starts to catch up. So it's a delicate waiting game.
Gonna have a jungle before it's done.
I'll send you a letter.
Tell me.
That was good.
As you've heard, we've had some challenges with the Timber Street pump house. We've had a couple of leaks down there with the contractor just trying to uncover the exterior piping outside the pump house to do the necessary changes there. The painting, they were working on that today. It's getting closer. All the lighting has been changed out. HVAC units and all that stuff is hung inside the building. The pumps are set in place. The majority of the piping is done except for just the basic tie-in. The majority of the grading our decking is in place. So it's coming along, but they still have a ways to go yet. So hopefully Thursday we'll be able to make some changes outside and change that balance at the corner of Timber and Campbell. 7 Highway water line. Finally, some big challenges with MoDOT. They've been a real challenge, piece of work to work with. So the guys are in town today. I don't know if they actually did start doing some excavating. They are planning on, I didn't go by there when I went home, so.
If they were in the yellow shirts,
The guy, there was.
they were north, I saw somebody excavating just
on the north side of Wright Street.
Yep.
Yeah, they would have been starting to do some potholing and kind of figuring out where we're gonna start. The plan is to do the tie-in possibly Wednesday or Thursday. We're trying to get this to coordinate with the changes at the pump house so that all of it falls underneath the city boiler advisory, so we don't have to make two. So the guys are geared up and ready to go. We should start seeing some activity there, so be ready for some more construction traffic along 7 Highway. Water tower, since with the issues that we've had with the pump house, I talked to Darren with USG, we have pushed that off now to the fall. They are gonna do a project in between, so it sounds like it's gonna be in the fall before we get started on that. The guys have been focusing really on potholes, patches. We've had a tremendous amount of those this spring, so we're still trying to catch up on those. And I think other than plan review, I did receive plans for, they're calling it the Pleasant Hill Marketplace, which is Price Chopper, this off-site sewer line. So they're hoping to get that started pretty soon and get that done before school starts. So we've had a few discussions about making sure that they get everything done across 163rd and all the way up 163rd before school starts. So.
I know it's a MoDOT, or it's a contractor for MoDOT. Is the sidewalk on the west side of the road bigger than the one on the east side of the road? I don't know if it's optical, it just looks wider.
I don't think so, but I guess it's not been out measured either.
It looks wider.
I know the excavation.
It almost looks like the full.
The excavation was wider on the west side than it was on the east side.
Weird. It just looked bigger. I was like, these are bigger sidewalks.
Yeah, I would have to go and look at it.
Yeah. Still wonder about the bed they're putting down the side. Not our project.
Thankfully, not our project.
But don't worry, we'll do all of our geotech that's necessary so they can place the
Yes.
sidewalks back on top of our water line.
Good.
Ours will be perfect.
There's a big story with MoDOT for, I mean, basically 30 days we battled back and forth with them guys trying.
We could have had it done.
We could have been a lot farther ahead if they were just communicated this stuff prior to.
If they weren't moving very fast, good with that.
Yeah.
All right, Chief.
Roof at the PD's almost done. Thank you very much. We had some good rain last week and the roof didn't leak at all. So again, thank you very much for the new roof. It's almost done. They're putting the caps on the outside edges and stuff today, and I think they'll be back tomorrow to finish up a few things. So probably a couple more days. We had our Hooks with Heroes on Saturday at Porter Lake. It was fantastic. Thanks to the National Weather Service. We talked to them early in the morning. And they're like, yeah, it's gonna move out. So we continued on our way, and we had about 73 kids plus all their parents and stuff. Thanks to the Optimist Club for coming out and cooking hot dogs and bringing tasty treats for the kids. It was a great event, and I think that's probably where we're gonna have it next year as well. So this was our 3rd year for it, and it was fantastic. As John Mooneyham mentioned, we have Coffee with the Cop tomorrow morning, 8 to 10 at the VFW. So if you get a chance, come on out. We'd love to see you there. And that's all I have.
Kylie.
We had a successful citywide garage sale. We had 27 registrants, and over by my house, it was very busy. So I think overall the whole town saw a good turnout with that. Kind of piggybacking off of Tony, we designed and printed a brochure for the 7 Highway water line replacement project that went to all occupants along 7 Highway along the course of the project so that they were notified ahead of time and knew exactly what was going on. Just another method of communication, because like Shelby said, we're just trying to see what works best and get these people aware that it affects. Following along with that, you'll also see a lot of communication, obviously, regarding the citywide boil water advisory coming out soon. We're kind of still working out the kinks and getting the exact information, so unfortunately we can't share it until we have all of that accurate information, just because we don't want to report anything false and yeah. Like Jeff said, pool opening communications, we've kind of been battling some issues. You may have seen some comments about swim or pool passes. We are having an issue with our online payment platform, but we are working through that. In the interim, pool passes are available for purchase at the pool until we get that fixed. Just little things, we participated in Career Day at the primary school where we talked through to kindergarten through second grade, just kind of about the different departments at within our city, and we had a lot of fun. We actually named a bunch of equipment we use, so you might see some fun new social media posts with that. And really all I have is that city offices will be closed next Thursday for Juneteenth, but no waste pickup is still as scheduled.
Probably gonna need to communicate before the July thing,
Yes.
so that people don't put it out and wonder why later it didn't.
Yep, that is already on my radar. Typically, every post I make, I try to do at least a week or 2 weeks in advance, so we'll be seeing that more.
I think the boil advisory is gonna be tricky. You don't want
It is.
people to think it is now, and
Yes.
that's gonna be.
So that's
tricky.
why, another thing I forgot to mention, we actually did, was it last Friday, we did a Public Works, project update. Just a feeler out there, we didn't want to scare anyone, essentially. We knew this was going to happen. We just don't know the exact details. So we were kind of on the fence to share it, but we just want to try and make everyone as knowledgeable as possible. So we've been trying to get it out there, but like I said, the details are still coming to us, so.
All right, Nikki.
I don't know that I have much more to add. We did facilitate last week a pretty big maintenance project out on the Mopac Trail. So if you've been out there or were out there over the weekend for National Trails Day, it looks really, really good. So that's a great thing going into busier summertime when those types of things get used. Really, as Jeff said, we've worked through some issues out of the pool. I will, as you have also reiterated, it's been said, we are using the rec complex for our programming and facilitations. So whether it's Jeff out there, clearly Jarman's been out there. I was out there last week, one full evening, just again, trying to make sure we're keeping people obviously using them so we can catch up on our programming, but keeping everybody safe as it is still a construction zone. So we will continue to do that. We obviously are continuing with our weekly meetings. We are trying to nail down that ribbon cutting ceremony for the parks. We're doing at the same time, we're trying to facilitate groundbreaking ceremonies for the animal shelter. Obviously, we do have the fair coming up as well, so there's a lot going on, and so just making sure that we can kind of facilitate all of them at the right time is because, and a lot of times it's some of the same exact people. But anyway, we are, like I said, so if people say, hey, well, we saw the lights on, or we see people out there. Again, it's been very, what I'm going to call regulated or moderated programming events through like Parks and Rec, just for our rec leagues, baseball and softball. I had on my list the same thing that Kylie had mentioned. We did do the primary school career day. They were very, very grateful that we were there. It was a ton of fun. I will say all of our departments were represented. However, it is completely unfair when you're trying to use a sewer camera and explain to them how it works when Dennis is over there playing with the freaking drone. Like, all they wanted to do was see the drone. So our sewer camera, poor Tony, we did everything we could to make it sound super flashy and super fun, and they didn't really care about our sewer camera. So, but anyway, it was great.
It's all right.
It's okay. Yeah, we did it.
And Jeff
I'm
was drawing
used to it.
mazes.
Yeah, and then Jeff was drawing mazes in the grass with his new robot liner, and then the stinking fire department shows up and starts spraying things down. Like, we can't compete. So anyway, it was a ton of fun.
Is that line, whatever you just called it?
The robot?
Is that the little white thing?
Yeah.
Okay, I was at the school the other day and I was standing out there by the SFA and I was like, what is that out there in the field?
Yeah, that's it. So it was really fun. Like I said, I'm super glad that the counselor down there at the primary school reached out and we could participate in that. Same thing, I've been filling in some stuff for other staff members that have been out. And clearly gearing up for the fair and all the events. We are having an emergency response meeting as it relates to that. next week. Missy, Kyla, and I have been working with each of our chairmen, volunteer chairmen, making sure they have the items that they need so that each one of the events can run successful. So we're super excited. Weather looks, I can't say as great as last year because I don't think we'll ever experience amazing weather like we had last year. But right now, no rain in the forecast, which is good. That can obviously alter significantly plans and events. So right now, it looks like it'll still a little warm, but still a great week to invite lots of people to town.
My apologies, mine's not short either. So we are working with Dogwood Energy. They are looking at expanding or connecting to our sewer service. So they have developed all of their plans for the construction of a sewer line, both their own line, but then also a portion that will be public. We have already done our staff and engineering review and provided them with preliminary comments. One of the things that I still owe them is the letter that we will accept them as a sewer customer. Just for context, I think most of you guys know, once they come on, they will be a very, very large volume customer. So we're also assessing what our rate structures are and making sure that that is fair and equitable to them as a very large customer as well. Whatever Tony mentioned, the Pleasant Hill Marketplace, I just decided to go out to GIS and I have confirmed that finally the property has transferred over to Pleasant Hill Marketplace. So property is sold and they are moving forward with that Price Chopper and other retail development. We do, for your calendars, I'll try and send you guys a reminder on this one too. We do have a groundbreaking scheduled on June 24th at 1 p.m. at the animal shelter site. So that one is nailed down.
Can you repeat that?
June 24th at 1 p.m. Okay, let me see what else I have. Just so you guys know, just from an awareness standpoint, we'll be hosting a pre-bid meeting for the police station request for proposals. This Thursday, bids will be received at the end of the month on June 26th. And we do anticipate the bid award coming before the council on June 14th, so the week of the fair, July 14th, thank you. So the week of the fair, we will have a council meeting. Right now, that is probably the only item I have scheduled. That's one that we usually try not to have as much. If something comes up, we'll put it on there, but I knew that that one is scheduled for that day. And last week was really what I'm going to call abatement week at the police station. So EWI has completed their asbestos removal, lead paint removal, and then we also had Serve Pro on site for destruction of records and cleaning of the downstairs storage area as well. So smells good over there. We're moving along on that police
I
department.
heard it was a scavenger hunt,
For which part?
and they was finding everything,
Oh,
and they were doing records.
Tommy's been a records guy.
It's been a labor of love.
I just went over there one day and he said, it smells great down there. So I went downstairs to check it out. It is clean, it smells good. So moving forward with that one. The other one is a more weighty topic that honestly just came to my attention today, but I kind of needed your guys' input on. It's going to be kind of like the SRO discussion. So we received notice today that our municipal court administrator gave her 2 weeks notice as she's taking a role in another organization. The city does have the option to move municipal court to the circuit court. The rules with that are basically we would lose the court costs that we receive, which is about $12,000 annually. That would go to the circuit and court costs get paid to the court that it's in. But we still have the ability to retain those fines. And so, our preliminary assessment is there is a financial savings there if we potentially move municipal court to the circuit court. But the question comes down to how much local control do you guys want to have over that? Because then you would not be selecting your municipal judge. You don't have the same type of oversight. We don't necessarily know what the, what the judges in their rulings or their assessment of fines would be. If we moved it to the circuit, this is a much weightier conversation than I'm going to have tonight, but I just needed to know whether you guys wanted us to explore the possibility and bring back to you guys kind of an analysis of whether that made sense and talk through it. Or do you say absolutely not, we want to keep municipal court here? And if so, then I would just post the job in the next 2 weeks. That's what I was thinking, was making sure that we don't miss an opportunity without having to potentially do any reductions in our staffing. Additionally, municipal court judges, by state statute, age out. There's a maximum age of judges. And so our municipal court judge has less than 2 years, or about 2 years left until we know for a fact that he will age out. Whether he resigns before that, I don't know what his plans are, but we're getting closer to also needing to replace a municipal judge.
So, does that just fit into their regular docket for municipal? Or would Pleasant Hill have its own court nights?
So it's not nights. That's one of the pieces, of the consideration. So I talked to Jeremy Cover about it today. He said whenever a city adopts the ordinance that says we're going to transfer this to the circuit court, that the circuit court has up to 6 months to make that change. So it's not something that happens automatically. It's something that gets coordinated. He said there is a municipal docket, and I forgot what day, it's 1 day out of the month, just like ours, in which they hear municipal cases. He was like, the size of Pleasant Hill's docket may warrant an additional day at a separate docket. We don't know what that would look like, but that's kind of what that 6 month window is for them to determine what that potentially looks like. And we can just explore, we can table it, explore it. I just didn't want to move to posting the job and getting people's hopes up that there's a job potentially out there if there isn't potentially going to be a job out there.
So what would happen if she already gave 2 weeks and we have some time? What happens? What do we do in that time frame?
So we're gonna have to figure that out. Honestly, even at 2 weeks, there wasn't enough time for us to facilitate having somebody on staff. I can tell you, and Nikki and I just had this conversation last week. Regularly, I don't think people understand how disruptive even one vacancy in our organization is, because then it takes someone else to fill in for what they do, and something else doesn't get done. So I don't know. Like I said, I just got this morning, so we're still working through what that process would be. Right now, Amy would have to be the one to fill in as her supervisor. But again, municipal court has very strict rules on you can't work on other things. So that's a state statute that municipal court has to be completely separate from the rest of the city. And so you can't have access to certain records that other people and utility billing can't have access to that. You have to be a singular court employee. I think there are probably limited exceptions on that. I was thinking today, I was like, I don't know if there are any retired court clerks too that would be interested in just a temporary gig too. That would more than likely in the short term be my preferred. But yeah, it's kind of a specialized niche, I can tell you. I don't know all the rules and regulations that we're
Does anybody around us have a part-time court clerk
maybe.
to be able to fill in some hours and do it?
Maybe. I was gonna say, Whitney has also offered that she can help out in the evenings and stuff like that to keep us going, and I think she would probably even come back and do our documents.
I know I would like to know the financial impact of having the court is for us. That position, any staff overtime helping out.
So we actually, at the mayor's request, had a work session scheduled for the next meeting. I sent him a long list of topics we could talk about. If you guys are okay with it, I may bring this one up. It doesn't have to be a lengthy conversation, we could do it relatively quickly and walk through kind of some of the pros and cons of it, and then also have that financial info. We could do that.
Okay. Is that it?
That was it, I think. Unless you guys have questions for me.
Anything from council?
I just have one more comment from John Self, who was unable to come tonight. He says, once again, I would like to ask why the city has not enabled live streaming for city council meetings with direct commentary from the remote public. I've checked my notes. This is literally the 10th time I've asked with no answer yet. You were able to do it during COVID with no problem. This isn't like forgetting how to land on the moon after 50 years. This was less than 5 years ago that the city was able to do this. So, that is what I have.
That is a current discussion that I know Shelby and I have talked about. There's several communities do it different ways. How to do those things, whether it be how people can sign up to speak, and how we do some of those things. So, and when we did it during COVID, it wasn't seamless. We had a lot of issues. All right, which topics did you have for close?
I have real estate.
I need a motion to go into closed session for RSMO 610-0212 for the discussion of real estate.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session for RSMO 610-021 for discussion of real estate.
I second. Have a motion and a second to go into closed session for discussion of real estate. Roll call, please.
Sorry. Oh, it's still not. Okay. Councilwoman Niner?
Yes.
Councilwoman Newberry?
Yes.
Councilwoman Emo?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doomer?
Yes.
All right, we're in closed session. Thank you, staff.